Mums and I would like to complain about the state of our drawers.
She was an outspoken Yorkshire woman, but she was a love.
She was a fun lady. I think all of life was fun to Mollie.
Just a delightful person to be with. And that was the Mollie Sugden that I knew way before she became an icon.
The Mollie family came first. Had it been a choice between family and career, it would have been family.
Mummy, this is Carol. Carol, Mummy. How do?
How do?
There were no pretensions. There were no dark secrets. She was just a joy. You'd have loved her.
Coronation Street has played host to many stars, all eager to make a guest appearance and be a part of television's national treasure.
I'm a veritable pussycat these days, man.
But for jobbing actress Mollie Sugden, Corrie was merely a stepping stone to global stardom.
Hello, Anne. Oh, you...
Coronation Street was in fact just up the road from where Mollie's story begins. Born Isabel Mary Sugden in Keighley, Yorkshire in 1922, Mollie's parents had met at a mill where William Sugden was an accountant and Mary Shackleton worked the looms.
He noticed her whenever he was giving out the payment, and he noticed her by the fact she had the shiniest clogs.
Mollie had a brother who was 15 years older than herself, so in many senses she was probably an only child and amused herself a lot.
She also amused other people. Mollie found her future calling at a very young age.
There's a tale of her at some church show.
Probably the age of about 5 or 6, and everybody was in hysterics listening to her.
She always retells being immediately swept up in it.
And I think she suddenly realised that this was a tremendous gift to be able to entertain people. And I think from that day onwards, she always knew she was going to go on the stage.
But with the outbreak of World War II, Mollie went to work in a munitions factory and her career plans were put on hold. When she was made redundant in 1944, Mollie found herself free to pursue her dream, so she left Yorkshire for London to train at the Guildhall School of Music and Drama. After graduation, she played in repertory theatre for the next 8 years.
I'd never been a character juvenile. I just sort of did any part that was going, and some I did better than others. And I always liked comedy best. But really, the parts I played were always sort of in the 30 to 40 mark. I mean, when I was in my 20s, oh, crumbs, I can remember playing a woman of 40. And I put so many lines on my face. Now I'm taking them off.
She has some very, very fond memories of rep, in particular in Swansea. And I think she had a couple of those sort of golden summers you get when the weather's good, you're doing what you love, and it's all going well. I think at the time she was probably poor as a church mouse, but it was tremendous fun. And I know that that's where she met my father.
Mollie was 33 when she met fellow actor Bill Moore in 1956. They married 2 years later.
Mollie absolutely adored Bill, and he adored her. And I think the big basis of their relationship was their humour. They made each other laugh. What they said to each other would always have a lovely wry fun about it.
I think after Mum and Dad got married, they very much just carried on with their careers, hoping for children, but obviously by then both of them were a little bit older.
Mollie was 41 when we were born, and Dad was 47. So quite late in life, really.
5 years after Mollie married Bill, twins Robin and Simon were born in October 1963.
I know that they always looked at it as a bonus that it was twins, because at that stage of life, probably only one go.
It was such a wonderful gift to her. She just couldn't believe they were hers, and they had such joy with their boys.
From a very early age, I called them Mollie and Bill, and I think they preferred that. Our relationship with them was not a normal parental one, because they had a lot more life experience. They made the time and they really did focus on us.
There were lots of stories, but I mean, they were quite naughty. They had a spark. And Mollie loved this.
While Mollie balanced being mum to the twins with a career that was starting to include television roles,
Yes, where's that plumber? He's inside. Well, he better come out again.
Bill landed the part of Sergeant Cyril Turpin in Coronation Street.
Well, you see, Sergeant... Sergeant Cyril?
Oh, yeah, you're off duty, Cyril.
I'm never off duty, Hilda, never.
Which opened the door for Mollie to appear as Annie Walker's rival pub landlady, Nellie Harvey.
Bye-bye, Jackie. Stay as sweet as you are.
There was a lot of the Old Pals Act in the early days of Coronation Street. At the time, I had helped to set up the casting department, including the casting director. So it wasn't very difficult for me to get anybody in those days.
You'd do anything to avoid the publicity. Anything. Don't think I'm daft.
She came in to play opposite Annie Walker. Annie Walker was such a strong character and an already well-established icon that it needed someone of equal strength but different. And Mollie was that to perfection. Their rivalry was one of the classic Coronation Street pairings.
Do have another piece of Battenberg, Nellie. I know you've never succumbed to this modern fad of Weight watching.
Oh, well, a little of what you fancy.
Mollie's performance was so popular, Nellie Harvey became a returning character over 11
If
years.
she put herself out half as much as she pulls herself in, she'd be a raging success.
Her role in Coronation Street certainly allowed her to show her impeccable comedy timing. She made the character even larger than life, and yet retained at the same time the strength and authority. That shows what a good actress she was.
Hey, I like you that.
Oh, and you do get some characters in here.
Mollie's timing was perfect in every sense. The 1970s was the golden age of sitcom, and her comedic talents were suddenly very much in demand.
You're not really supposed to smoke in here, you know.
It's for me nerves.
Yes, I know, but it's not very good for your lungs.
Oh, I know. I worry something dreadful about my lungs. That makes me nervous, and that's why I smoke.
I clearly remember when Mum got the part in Live Birds and how excited she was.
Sandra de Hello, Mrs. Hutchinson. You're just in time for some porridge.
You know, it was the first show that Mum was in that I really remember. And I think that really was a turning point. And it certainly, although my Mum had been on television, it launched her career in the public eye.
Hello, Mummy. Sorry, I was on the phone.
We used to be, you know, quite naughty at times, you know. Those hats she wore in the Live Birds were just... She walked in and you had to do a scene, and I'm trying not to look at this stupid hat.
I wear large, expensive hats. And it would be very nice if I could enter this flat without hearing, "Mind your hat on the door, Mrs. Hutch. And here she comes, the galloping garden."
Mollie was brilliant about keeping a straight face, and I wasn't.
She loved the Live Birds, yes. And it was great casting because she was dead right for it, you know.
Mollie's stock in trade was to have this ability to be quite raucous and then on the top be frightfully genteel. And she was very funny and very good at that.
The tiles are a strange colour, aren't they?
The tiles are yellow, love. That's grease.
Mollie wasn't like the character on screen at all. She couldn't have been more down to earth.
The slightly snobbish elements of her characters are something that I think she enjoyed sending up because she genuinely disapproved of snobbery.
The occupiers of this house are unanimous
Oh, be quiet! Or shut your gob. Or whatever it is people in this house say when they're pleading for silence. Go on, darling.
Mollie was always quite protective of me. And when I was younger, I was quite curvaceous. I remember we were both doing a personal appearance in a football ground, and both done up with our smart suits and handbags. And as we were going towards the middle of the football ground, a man got hold of my breasts. And Mollie was so angry. She had a really big, heavy handbag, and she whacked this man right on the head.
The work just came in for Mollie. You didn't have to go and look for work for Mollie. You know, I turned down more work than she did. Yeah, there was never... It was the same with Bill. You see, they were both bloody good actors.
At different times, Dad was more successful or Mum was more successful. And certainly when I was sort of in primary school, my father was probably that little bit more successful.
I think there were times Mollie felt Bill didn't perhaps get the recognition as an actor. Mollie would take as much pride, if not more, in Bill's achievements as she did in her own.
There was sort of no envy, and they were happy to swap roles as work dictated.
Obviously, Mollie was reasonably known during the life of Birds, but it really changed with Are You Being Served?
I have here the identical garment. There, you see, compare the labels. The label hasn't shrunk.
Mum knew what a sort of milestone it was to get that part, and, you know, the likelihood that this was going to be a big success.
I assume that the instructions apply to the cardigan.
Did you? Well, hard cheese.
I'm going to take your name.
I'm sorry, madam, we're not allowed to give names.
Well, in that case, I shall remember your face.
Some of us have long memories, you know. I haven't forgotten being flung flat on me back on Clapham Common by a landmine. And the German Air Force was responsible.
All the other times she was flat on her back, the American Air Force was...
Can we knock it off, please?
She even remembers what she said.
There isn't a day goes by, but somewhere in the world, on television, Are You Being Served is being shown. I mean, that's quite something.
As Mrs. Slocum, Mollie Sugden was propelled to worldwide fame. The sitcom sensation started as a pilot episode, inspired by writer Jeremy Lloyd's own experiences working in a London department store.
Now, Simpsons in Piccadilly was probably the most famous gentlemen's outfitters in London, and I can remember when I was working there of the future Queen and her consort coming to buy me a pair of trousers, and I was in the trouser department, but rather a long way back down the queue of assistants, so I didn't get to take his inside leg. I'd learnt enough there to be able to say, this is the sort of thing that happens, and Are You Free and Are You Being Served were standard expressions.
The pilot was due to be aired as part of the Comedy Playhouse series in 1972. But in a bizarre twist of fate, the terrorist attack on the Olympic Games that summer meant a disruption to the TV schedules.
And the screens went blank. Somebody reached up and grabbed the first tape that was on a shelf and put it on, and it happened to be Are You Being Served? And so there's sort of 26 or 30 million people watching suddenly saw Are You Being Served in black and white. Mrs. Slocum was written in the script as Mrs. Slocum, senior sales assistant. When we met Mollie, that was the part she was ideal for.
She immediately got that character, you know, and she got a hold of that. That was it. She was away in a hack, as they say.
Mrs. Slocum.
Captain Peacock, I do not respond to any man's finger.
Her strength as an actress, I think, was simply that she could do anything.
She had excellent, superb timing, and above all, she had a great sense of fun.
She was a really game gal. Let Trevor Bannister pick her up in a fireman's lift, exposing acres of direct wire knickers and all that thing.
I don't need the truss anymore.
The idea of a different coloured hair, by the way, was Mollie's, because she said, I've got my hair, but would it be fun if I had a sort of different colour every week?
Initially, it was her own hair, and they would put all these, and she had a terrible job getting these colours out. So, of course, finally I said, well, let's make you some wigs. And, of course, eventually she had blue ones and then green ones and pink ones.
By Jove, I needed that.
The writers often gave her a rather slightly naughty double entendre, which, of course, she played with complete innocence. And so she'd get away with murder.
Miss Brahms and I would like to complain about the state of our drawers.
We never asked her to do anything she never wanted to do, particularly when she's referring to her pussy, because that, is established it's a cat. It's called Tiddles, actually.
The last time I was late, a fireman had to climb out of my bedroom window and risk his life on a narrow ledge trying to grab hold of my pussy.
Mollie was irreplaceable, I would say. If she'd left the series early, the series, I think, would have finished.
We came to the full realisation that it was a big hit when the Americans went for it, particularly the gay community in New York. And then she went out on a tour there, and she was mobbed everywhere. And
there'd be a Mrs. Slocum lookalike contest where the 40 drag queens would turn up with stuffed cats under their arms in different multicoloured wigs. Mollie had to sort of judge them.
I don't know whether Mollie liked being famous. She took a great deal of care of her fans, though.
Mollie did all her fan mail personally. She'd spend hours replying to fan mail. In fact, she would even send presents if they were requested by fans. She'd go out and buy DVDs for them if they'd ask for them, and she'd sign them.
I think the most unusual thing is that this cast actually got on so well, they became very good friends off set.
We were a family and worked very much. We were a very tight-knit, friendly unit.
Mollie was extremely close to Wendy because Wendy had a rather difficult home life in different homes with different husbands or different boyfriends who were not always very nice to her, which was rather sad, and Mollie was like a sort of mother hen to her, really.
I think in a way, Mollie looked upon her as perhaps a daughter.
When we came together again, I mean, it was hello, 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 because we all got on like a house on fire.
She was a party girl, yeah, she liked to kick her legs up and have a dance and have a drink. She was a fun lady. I always remember the day she bought a Porsche. She said, I'm getting a new car. And I said, what'd you get me? She said, a Porsche. And we all sort of reeled a bit and thought, Mollie in a Porsche. And she used to drive like a bat out of hell.
Oh, dear.
She even did her test in her 80s and passed it, which was extraordinary, but she did.
At the point when most couples would be retiring, Mollie and Bill were still very much in demand. Often working together in the theatre, and even in a sitcom written especially for them.
Oh, you haven't got your slippers on. Don't move, love, I'll get them.
Oh, you needn't bother.
Oh, it's no bother, George. I do it every night of my life.
They were always very, very close. I mean, they were the ideal happily married couple. That's all you could say about them.
Bill died in 2000. Mollie never really totally got over that because they were so much of a team.
They were mates, they were buddies, and it was very, very sad when he died. Thank God she had her wonderful boys and their wives and her grandchildren, which were wonderful for her, you know. They became her life then. But nothing was quite the same when Bill had gone.
Oh, my word, you'll never guess who's just walked in.
Who?
Mollie Sugden.
Don't be silly, Clive.
Yeah, that's definitely her. Say hello.
No, Clive, she doesn't want to be bothered.
What are you talking about? You were bridesmaid at a wedding. Of course she'll want to be bothered.
No, Clive, no.
Even in her 80s, Mollie remained the consummate comedienne, appearing in the multi-award-winning Little Britain.
Sorry? Liz Bendel, she was the bridesmaid at your wedding.
Well, I don't know anyone called Liz. My friend Helen was the only bridesmaid at my wedding.
But health problems meant Mollie could work less and less.
Her health had not been terribly good since her early 70s. And she'd come through a number of illnesses where perhaps she wasn't expected to survive.
First of all, when she was 70, she had a heart attack followed by a quadruple bypass, which at 70 was a real challenge. And then she'd had a fall, and that resulted in some complications. And she had gone into a coma for a number of weeks. And I remember going home and being told, this is it. There is really no way back from that. And actually, she fought back from intensive care to being back up and about and, you know, driving and functioning and working.
So even right at the end, when we were being told things don't look good, as I said to Robin, there was a bit in the back of your mind that said, but it's Mollie they're talking about.
Don't they understand? She can fight back from anything. But it really was it that time.
Mollie died on the 1st of July 2009. She was 86.
If you can say a funeral was happy, Mollie's funeral was happy. It was the most extraordinary day because her warmth and her humour kind of came through the funeral. It's really odd. We all remarked on it.
She did have good times right up until the end, really.
She had a very happy life. And it was a very happy life because she contributed so much to other people.
A fine actress with great comical ability who gave a lot of pleasure to a lot of people.
By Jove, I needed that.
There'll never be another Mollie. She was an individual act, basically. And when they go, you can't replace them.
Just as a lovely person. She was a lovely person.
There have been 3 violent deaths in Fort Torrey in the last 2 days.
Well, my father would never kill a man. It's not in his nature.
You can't imagine how many times I've heard that said.
The brand new series of Midsummer Murders is next.